Uh, so we've spoken a lot about AI. We'll not talk about that. I don't I don't want to promise that. But so anyway, we over the day today we've spoken about various aspects. I think one thing is consistent that the processes are changing, workplaces are changing. I think we talked uh, to screens, through screens a lot. People are more hybrid, and in that context, because processes are changing, the workplace is changing, even the skill required, is shifting. And with that in mind, what is it that we can do better? What is it that we can do much more efficiently? So that's the context with which, the conversation would flow. I have three tracks. I'll actually ask the question and refer it to three of you. Please, in any manner, if you feel that you want to pick it up, please feel free. If anybody else has a view, please, the idea is to actually bring in your experience. We have a very healthy panel with people from services, people from the manufacturing side. We'll first get into hybrid workspaces. We've realized that hybrid work is mainstream now. It is here to stay, whether we like it or not. And in that, when we're looking at our organizations, one of the things which we want to do is create a flexible, secure, and collaborative environment. And in that context, how do we sustain engagement, right? I think that's the primary question. And because large part of the companies are facing, even though hybrid is good, it's more productive for the companies, but there's high level of disengagement in the employees. Now, if we need to sustain engagement, what do we do? I think that's the question, and Prasanth, Akriti, Rohit, and Priyangshu, maybe any one of you can pick it up and, please, do you want to, Prasanth, you want to start? Yeah, or Akriti? Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Hitesh, for that question. Now, possibly I'm the only architect in this panel, so I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of real estate into this question. I think as we're moving from a complete work from home setup, transitioning into a hybrid setup, and hopefully sometime in the future back to office, it's very important for us to start designing spaces where collaboration and where collaboration and a lot of healthy engagement can start. I think the first of it is to design for flexibility. We need to let the walls break down because offices need to start earning for the commute of the people that are returning back to spaces. So we are going to have to start breaking down the traditional hierarchies of cabins and, spaces where spaces where there is lack of interaction and start creating spaces of coincidence where basically people, the quieter minds are engaging and coming up with a lot of out-of-the-box ideas and a flow of ideas is happening. The second, of course, is, fostering a lot of culture and growth from an HR perspective. So I think those 2-3 things from flexibility point of view, from the point of view of creating these engagement spaces, coming out of cabins, from meeting rooms into, cafes, pods, mini zones have to be created for all of these people to come together and collaborate and brainstorm on these ideas.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and thanks for getting me on the panel. I'll start with an anecdote, and this happened some years back when I was a young kid, and I landed in Delhi one winter evening, and I called up my friend who's Punjab, and asked him, "Aaj mera kahin rehne ka jagah nahi hai." Hindi, I hope everybody is okay with Hindi. Rehne ka jagah nahi hai. And he told me something which stays with me, Bola, ghar mein to jagah nahi rahega, dil mein bahut jagah hai. And I think that's something very important from an office space point of view. Why is a hybrid workplace now the in thing? Is it a choice or a compulsion in part of organizations? Okay, I'll just leave the thought with you. When we design a hybrid place, is it choice or compulsion? The second aspect is, if I visualize a matrix, right? There are jobs that, the workflows that can be done in a hybrid way, and there are workflows that cannot be done in a hybrid way or can be at the most a compromise. That's on one axis. The other axis is, how many people actually in the organization, what percentage of people in the organization actually are in a hybrid mode? Both this combination actually leads into what I call the cultural readiness of an organization in managing a hybrid force. So what are the dimensions of cultural readiness? There are 3 dimensions. One is the physical readiness, one is the process maturity, and the third is what I call the emotional connect in the organization. I wouldn't want to spend time on the physical part. I think Akriti spoke about the physical part. The process maturity is what I call are your systems like appraisal systems, attendance systems, and a whole lot of things equipped to manage the hybrid workforce. We can dwell more on it. If there are questions, I'll be happy to take it. The third aspect is emotional connect. Do we really encourage it? ये दिल का जगह बहुत important है. And that brings to capabilities of people who are in the office and also who are on a away from office mode. Okay. Until we address what I call the physical, the emotional, and the process, PEP, PEP, I think hybrid working would need to go through the maturity curve. We need to get the PEP in place to make hybrid a real successful one. Thank you.
Rohit, do you want to add? Yeah.
I think just listening to, good evening everyone, just listening to what Akriti and Prasanth said, I think we need to understand one thing: hybrid is here to stay. And hybrid is not necessarily working 3 days in the office or 2 days in the office. It's just post-COVID especially, it's given the flexibility to the employees to work from home when they want to. So there has to be a reason why the employees should come back to work. And while you talk about space creation, while you talk about having the emotional connect, I think one aspect we need to understand very clearly is that post-COVID, the Gen Zs and the millennials, which are maybe majority of your workforce these days, is not just looking for a workspace. They are surely looking for a nice, funky, nice, emotional space, but they're also looking at really good services, and that includes food. Now, what in the business that we are in, we've realized that the employees are just not looking for the normal dal, sabji, roti, right? With the avenues available outside the workplace, people are looking for what will I get when I get to the office. We have cases where employees step out the day the food is not good. They don't have that, they didn't maybe have that option 3 years from now. But now that option is there. So food is now playing a very important role. And that's where the emotional aspect, the workspace aspect, and food are now becoming critical aspects. Food is what is actually getting the organizer and the employees together. And I think that's where not just the smallest of the organization, but the biggest of the organization, not just the MNCs, but the Indian companies also, they're literally focusing on what gets employees back to the workspace. And it's primarily, one of the biggest reasons is food.
Yeah, maximum attendance is for pizza day actually. Priyangshu, do you want that? Yeah.
So good evening. So today our subject is to looking at the workplace, workforce and workflows. Now, we are really privileged to looking at from the Konica Minolta side, working with almost 2,000 customers across pan-India with a different domain, including manufacturing, BFS sectors. What we also have seen that the concept or what we talk about the workplace is now changing dramatically. Earlier era when we talk about the workplace and the hybrid way of working. Now, hybrid way of working is not like a choice or experiment. It's become a mode of one of the fundamentals operational model. To make this operational model more effective, what is important that we must secure, engage, and collaborate. To give you the better perspective of this, like earlier, like when any company used to design the workplace and the real estate, they always used to think about how I can optimize my office to give you an experience. Now this thing has changed. How I can able to bring my employee experience more enablement. And looking at that, all leaders today are creating more of a digital infrastructures ready so that beside that, the space, how the digital transformations and infrastructures will make the company to become a more effective and more collaborative way. To add to that, earlier, like when we used to do a conferencing, more of like before the pandemic era, what you have mentioned, like very limited companies used to give that access to the conferencing facility, or it is very restricted to the only few leaders. Nowadays, when we are looking from office, from remote locations, and also from on move, it is very important that we must connect it. And when we talk about connected, it's more of a collaborations. With the technological age, as organizations, what we are looking at to give you a very effective way of looking at more of collaborative and also the communication, which more of a smart workplace. Secondly, if I looking at the data, I think most of the companies are looking for implementing a lot of solutions, which is to be taken kind of data-driven decisions and the information availability wherever you are. And company decisions-making process is not just to confine to the physical presence of the data information. Whenever the team members are outside, and when decision has to be taken, every employee must get that kind of access of the data whenever they need it, and it's become a mode of organization to take the decisions immediately. So when we look at to successful of implementation of the smart workplace and workforce design, I think besides sustainability, it is also very important like how the human behaviors to the technological changes, which is going to help as a kind of enable for any organization to become a more of flexible, innovative, and also collaborative way. So I think the overall we see that technology as well as the kind of decisions that what we design, it is becoming more and more effective for the futures ready office solutions.
Yeah, sure. No, thank you
I
so
think
much.
Hitesh, just one point I would like to add to what Rohit and Priyangshu said. Office spaces are no more being looked at production places. They are more strategic assets now. It's not where somebody is coming just to complete a task. It's where actual brainstorming is going on. So adding to like what they are saying, I think fostering like an environment where security from a point of mental wellness is also something that's being looked at. So wellness at work is like become a really big topic, which is adding to everything that they all said.
Yeah, no, I think Prashant put it beautifully. He said physical, process, and emotional. I think, it has to be more collaborative. That's where the open spaces come in. People would want to come in there. And I think equal access is what Priyangshu was saying, that, how can I make sure that the same data, the same access to everyone who's working hybridly. So just on the process part, if I take a segue, I'll come to Indrani and Ganesh for that. You both are from sectors where actually it's not new. Distributed teams has been a way of life, IT, logistics, both places, and in that environment, how do you ensure trust and inclusivity, right? And what's worked for you, what's not worked for you, is there some experience which you can share which actually could add to the conversation?
Thank you, Hitesh, and good evening, everyone. It's fascinating to listen to my co-panelist about the hybrid work. But if I step back a little bit from this discussion and explain what hybrid means to me, what it means for my organization, whose job is to move cargo across the world through air, rail, and ocean. For us, My team might be operating from a port station in Sao Paulo. Somebody might be in a container freight station in the JNPT. Someone working in the Manchester in a warehouse, and so on and so forth. So, and a large corporate team working out of corporate offices. What I'm trying to say is that hybrid for me is very, very different, because the nature of the business is such that I need to have people in every station where cargo moves, cargo arrives, and cargo departs. Now that definitely makes the situation very interesting for all of us when we talk about security, when we talk about flexibility, and when we talk about inclusivity. Now, how do we do that? I think as an organization, what we do is we try to look at it through one integrated lens. The hybrid workforce that is spread across 300 offices, across 180 countries are looked through one integrated lens of security, the flexibility, and the inclusivity. And trust is the core of the currency that we actually thrive on. So everybody will have the same network, and we do get exposed to a lot of cyber threats day in, day out. There is a team, that is a cybersecurity team, which is working around the clock to ensure the organization is secure. Having said that, must admit that we have got the scare a couple of times in the past. That made us much more responsible, because at the end of the day, we are custodian of our client data and client cargo. So we cannot have a situation where we expose the cargo to the cyber attacks. And hence, by design, we secure our digital workforce. By design, we secure the workstations, and we do monitor every activity. We do monitor every data movement. We do monitor every access that we provide to our employees. Having said that, we definitely encourage transparency, and we tell people that yes, it is monitored to ensure that everybody is also protected and nobody is under the threat.
No, absolutely. Give access to all, security by design is what you said, and then monitor by making sure that everybody is aware that what things are getting monitored. Ganesh, do you want to add?
So I thought like people went to office to work. I really got worried when you said that people go to office to eat. I'm an entrepreneur and really seriously worried that do our people come to office? Of course, we have cafeteria, but now that's a food for thought. So it's a lesson for me. Yes, thank you. So the workplace is actually what we need essentially is to bring different multiple locations, multiple employee identification technologies, different applications. She also talked about access, attendance, safety. So you need a unified one platform where we can bring different types of identification, for example, a fingerprint, face, vehicle number, and then we, on a common platform, we can offer the seamless experience to employees irrespective of whether they are working in factory, office, branch offices, from home. And that's what our company does. And I'm here to offer our solutions to all the people here. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for that. I'll just move to the second track. We're talking about if this is the hybrid workplace is where we are, and then from an employee perspective, what skills do we need to focus on? Whether it's automation, bringing in agility at work, and now everyone was talking about AI, so let's talk about AI also. So my question is to you, Indrani, how do we help, the employees through this structured upskilling, if there's something like that, and how do you go about that process with so much changing around?
Thank you, Hitesh. I think this is very, very interesting question, because I'm pretty sure all of us are going through that process. I think the biggest obstruction of getting someone upskilled is the insecurity around AI will take away jobs. I think before even we go into the how we do the upskilling or how we train our people, I think it's a huge change management process. and educating people that what it would mean for them rather than the fear that it is going to take away the jobs, and then there would be huge resistance. What we are talking in our own universe is that intelligence is now a programmable resource. So intelligence is like, gone are those days when we think that, okay, so if somebody is having an IQ, then the person will go up the ladder. We have realized over the years that it is the EQ. Now the bigger question and lens on intelligence is if it is a programmable resource and if it can be replaced by AI, then it benefits everybody. The moment we provide this trust to everybody that it is going to make your personal and professional life better, I think the fear is going to be taken away. And the moment the fear is taken away, it is the acceptance that comes at the center stage. With acceptance, people are ready to get upskilled. It always starts from the top. So we are conducting a lot of workshops, first to start with at the top management. We are also trying to tag Gen Zs with the senior folks to ensure that the reverse mentoring happens, because having said that, our Gen Zs are much more efficient in handling this skill set than the millennials. So we are also tagging that. But I think the first thing is that acceptance, taking the fear away, and it's a top-down approach.
Sure, no, understood. Top-down approach, and then I think addressing the fear. Yeah, please, go ahead.
I think we all need to understand, we've been talking about AI and we've been talking about, from my perspective, technology is ever evolving. When email was created, nobody thought there's going to be Hotmail. When Microsoft was created. So technology is always going to be there. I think in today's time, and especially in a country like India where most of your workforce is younger workforce, the millennials, the Gen Zs and the alphas, I think what people or these employees are looking for is an environment where they feel valued. They feel that they can trust the organization. Gone are the days when people of our generation would just slog that out because we didn't have an option, right? Now what they're looking for is trust and inclusivity. I mean, with the change in the world that is happening, people want to feel safe coming to the office. And not just food, it's AI. Everything is driving. And considering, I can still work 12, 14 hours, but today's generation is very clear. I'm going to work for 8 hours or 9 hours or 10 hours, and then I'm out. So they want to make sure they're delivering on the goals. They're very focused on their career. They're very focused on their goals. They want to make sure that the organization or themselves are constantly evolving and learning new skills. But they want to have that safe environment where they feel welcome. And that is the least we as organizations can give them, whether it's the environment, whether it's technology, whether it's support that we need. It's no more, to her point, it's no more a paper exercise. The generation of today wants to see what actually is happening. If they don't see it, they're out. Because there are enough opportunities. And I think we need to understand in leadership roles that we cannot, sorry for my language, we cannot BS them anymore. It's reality. And we need to wake up and smell the coffee.
Yeah, no, I agree. The context and culture of the organization is very important. Not all technology is there for efficiency, productivity, replacing employees. Having said that, is an important dimension, and let me come to Ganesh and Prasanth for that. So much experimentation, right? We were talking about some other technology 3 years back. Now we're talking about AI, and with so many experiments, what will scale? I think, how do we actually really bring productivity, and it's not just about upskilling the workplace, but I think the other fear which the employees have that we do so much, we experiment with so many things, nothing scales, nothing sticks. If I need to actually do my work and job efficiently, then how do I navigate? And I think that's the heart of the question. We do address the cultural part of it. We do address the change management part of it, but is it really scalable? And should we run so many experiments?
Okay. So, couple of points. I'll come to your question later. No, the speaker before asked, how many of you think that work will not be there? And I raised my hand. Okay, I need to justify that raising the hand. I think the future of work is that work doesn't have a future. Okay. Today's generation and going forward, for them, they will contribute if this becomes a hobby. And it's up to us to create that environment where they see their coming in and value add as a hobby and not as a work. That's about aspirations. And what all this technology and everything that we do, we need to make sure that how can individuals and organizations become better versions of themselves. Okay. And that is the purpose of what technology can do. If someone tells me that jobs will not be lost, that's false. That's untrue. Jobs will be lost. Okay. So much of investment is going on. How do we recover that investment? Jobs will be lost, but jobs will evolve. So how do we prepare people, both within the organization and at a larger society level? There are a lot of people from government here. How do we prepare them to be equipped for the future value add? I would not even call them jobs. The question that we should be asking in organization is not what can AI can do. AI is the only technology that has come without a purpose. AI's only purpose is to improve intelligence. What we should be asking is not what AI can do, but what should AI do in our organization? That's one thing. The second thing is that intelligence without values is a dangerous cocktail. And I'm not leading you to cocktails later in the evening, but intelligence without values is a dangerous cocktail. Please put in place the guardrails that AI should operate in. And that's how it can become scalable.
Sure. Here, Ganesh, do you want to add?
Yeah, yeah. So I think the basic question is organization is for the employees or employees for the organization. So I come from a little, old school, different thought. So when the youngsters come to office, and here we all talk about actually creating organization so that youngsters become effective. But then what about the business? Business also has some objectives. So then who is going to align with the business objectives? So I'm not against the youngsters. I'm an old-timer here and kind of outlier. But I think there is a necessity to strike a balance between these two imperatives. And coming to this challenge of doing this, the leadership specifically have to kind of articulate objectives, align people, and then offer resources, training, nurture, instead of going to the old way of actually doing monitoring, control, command. Now there are new ways of actually working with people. That is of course true. But in my opinion, the business objectives will and should remain in the focus. And there is a need for, not always we have to see that, okay, whether the employees are going to be happy. I think there is also need to see whether the business is taken care of that. Because the final objective of why people come to office is to make sure the business sustains and grows. So I think, but leadership has a role to that. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And somebody asked me what's the ultimate objective for any business? It's to make money. Yeah. Only when we make money, can we share resources which make the employees happy? At the same time, any new technology, we are the ones as leaders to set the guardrails. I think, like you rightly said, what do I want to use it for? And then within that context, am I allowing that flexibility to the employees to try that out? Okay, so yeah, the adoption is accelerating. I don't know whether in India or not, for AI. There are multiple use cases, space optimization. We're looking at predictive maintenance, which was already there. We were at the core, we're looking at computer vision, we're looking at image analytics, which has been there. They have applications on the shop floor. We are looking at sustainability tracking now, emissions, that goes there. We're looking at, the employee experience part. We are looking at what our customers are saying, right? And where it's trending to. People, the panel before us were talking about churn models and, understanding that. All of this comes with, data which actually is on that boundary of whether I'm right to use it, whether I'm being transparent about this use, whether this is the ethical thing to do. Now, in that context, and let me come to Akriti, how do we balance, efficiency goals with transparency, governance, and with employees being happy in a workplace?
Efficiency is a very interesting word. So in the last 10, 15 years, I think specifically real estate has seen a sea change. 15, 20 years ago when the IT boom came, suddenly we saw tier 1, tier 2 cities full of these large IT campuses that were just flooded and flooded with people. MNCs from outside, like global MNCs, were coming into India for manpower. And there was cheap labor, there was cheap manpower, there was cheap production of work, and efficiency was mainly meant trying to get the largest bang, for the buck. So we were trying to fill in offices at, let's say, 60 square foot a person, minimum cost per person. And we designed spaces that were largely just a toilet block and tables after tables. But I think now real estate has taken a completely different, it's been a game changer. Domestic companies have put in a lot of money, a lot of minds. There has been like a change. There's a startup wave in this country. GCCs are setting up. So India is no more an outsourced space. India is really now the heartbeat of all of these global offices where the minds are working. I agree and disagree with what Prasanth said earlier. Are we going to lose jobs? We don't know yet. Are the jobs going to change? 100% yes. We are no more all the mundane, productive, repetitive tasks that was earlier famous as Indians, we were famous for it. It's going to completely go away. It's going to be taken by AI. What's going to happen is all of these jobs are going to be replaced by minds at work. When minds come at work, we are no more designing spaces for 60 square foot a person. Today we are looking at offices that are 200 square foot a person, which includes food court as a large part of amenity. Pods, like I said, spaces of, like transitional spaces of coincidence is a phrase that architects love a lot. We're talking about longer corridors to toilets because that's where people want to engage and brainstorm and come up with new ideas. We're talking about staircase landings. You will always see 4 or 5 people sitting around at a staircase landing, and that's where suddenly a brainstorming idea, a breakthrough idea will come. So it's changing, jobs are going to change, and real estate is, you're already seeing how offices are changing. And I think cultural fit within these offices is going to be like a huge question mark on how we are going to do that. But overall, yes, you will see efficiency, offices becoming a lot more inefficient, a lot less space optimization, and a lot more expenditure in making these spaces an extension of their homes.
Sure. Yeah. No. So let me ask this slightly differently, and then come to Ganesh, Priyangshu, and Rohit. So change is consistent, right? What has happened is because of the macro changes, it's becoming faster now, and that changes in processes in our operating environment, and the culture is also evolving. When COVID did a hard reset, we had to reset not just business processes, but how we collaborate, how we work. I think before COVID, we didn't think of giving laptops to all employees, right? But then suddenly, that became an imperative. Then we said, oh, okay, how do I communicate? Then Zoom became an imperative, right? So now, how has the role of leadership changed? I think you touched upon it earlier also, and how it will evolve, yeah? Because the transition of skills is happening, the culture is changing, the office environment is changing, and sometimes, the easy question which I could ask with the person who's sitting across is no longer that, I need to wait for when they show green, and many times I talk to the screen rather than the person on the screen. So, so what's leadership and how leadership has to navigate this? What's the best way to do that?
I think, like I said, I'll start with what Akriti mentioned. I think we are in the middle of moving our corporate office. And believe you me, when I started talking to the architects about building the corporate office, and when I got the millennials into the room, I suddenly felt from the medieval period. Because suddenly the ask was very different. And why was it different? It's not just technology. I think what people are looking for is a nice place to work for. And when you give them the right environment, the productivity does increase. And keep in mind, if I may disagree with you, that in our age, we didn't have the option. We had to do a job. Right? Today, there are so many avenues that people come to the office because they are focused on their jobs. They are ambitious. They're not going to wait for 30 years to get to something. They're very focused. And I think we need to understand that. How is technology driving it? I think if the people are coming for 8 hours into the office, right, they want everything done by the clock. Even if they're going for a meal, they want to know, when will I get my meal? They want to know. And it's very surprising, Hitesh, believe you me when I say that. The employees are asking us, why am I wasting so much food? And that's where technology is coming in. Now we are able to track the wastage and work backwards in our kitchens and our offices or our cafeterias, our restaurants, to understand how do we curtail. So technology is not just about changing the environment, it's encompassing the entire cycle. From the time you get to the office, from the time you have your meal, to the time you throw your food away, to the time you get back to your desk. And those are the kind of environments we need to provide to our employees if you want to sustain it. They will always be focused on objectives. Yeah, if you don't have people focused on objectives, you kind of ask them to leave. Let's be real here. But my experience says in today's generation, the focus on objectives and delivering on the ambition maybe is a lot more than I had at that point of time.
So I'll just take that question saying that what should be the leader focusing on?
Right.
I think, when we were there, we were very, someone in a position, we respected positional power. Someone above me, I used to respect the person. Today, that respect has broken down. This generation doesn't respect person because he's sitting on a chair. Or the word boss is out, really. So, as a leader, you need to inspire the person. Okay. I think that's a core of leadership today. And you need to inspire the person. The ability to influence without control is very high today. You cannot control things, but you may be able to influence things. And that's the two things that I would say, inspiration and influencing people becomes very important.
Yeah, no, very good. Very fair point. Yeah.
Sorry, if I may just add one. Leaders have to start, and the leaders, bosses, whatever you want to call them, have to start understanding in today's time, you got to listen more, speak less. I think the minute we make that change, you will see your employees delivering, and you will maybe in all probably get better ideas.
Yeah, please.
It's interesting that you say that people are questioning about sustainability. It reminded me of the talent report that I was recently going through. Michael Page had conducted a survey with 50,000 people, and 5 questions that are there in talent's mind, top 5 questions. First is, what's your take on sustainability? And the second question is, what's your take on implementation of Gen AI in your organization?
Yeah.
And rest 3 are on compensation, what's your culture, etc.
Sure.
But sustainability and Gen I top 2.
Yeah, very quickly.
Just a role play. I think youngsters are learning wrong things, and we elders are actually encouraging and supporting them in that way. So yes, otherwise I agree. On a serious note, the leadership has a role in making things transform and
it's more collaborative. We have to communicate. Everybody needs to feel heard, and I think we have to lead with examples. We have to do it ourselves. Then only we'll know what are the boundaries. Yeah. Thank you so much. I know this is not enough time. I'm so sorry. I've run out of time.
Two more lines. I think it is very important, like as a leadership role, what we discussed, that we must take that implementations and what is visible to any organization, more of a technology is visible. Cultures and leadership way that implementation sometimes is not visible. Today we discuss about what is important for an employee to understand why I should implement in the kind of workplace which is more of a hybrid. If employee being part of the decision-making process, or we can influence their way that it is, they should be able to drive, take the accountability by the employee, then for a leader, it is going to be very win-win situation for any implementation and get the result from those new initiatives. I think it is the both way as a leadership and also the communication. It should not be like you have to implement why it is important, that the conviction has to be there when you implement. So they know we can able to achieve the productivity, flexibility, and also the synergy within the organization it's becoming more of win-win and collaborative environments.
Yeah, no, I think, what you're saying is fair, but vulnerability is very important. We don't know what the outcome of the world would be. And this conversation can go on, I think, very interesting threads which we've captured here. Thank you so much to everyone.